Alright, should be making a live video, another response video to, whatever, a physicist. Silly person. That's another word for them. Frankly, yes, full of shit. So anyway, he had posted a video, and it's only a members only video, but the title intrigued me because he said, wave particle duality, weird but 100% real. Whatever the fuck that could mean. That things are really waves and particles at the same time. Some kind of crap like that, obviously. And obviously I say crap like that because I say that's crap. So anyway, so yeah, we'll do the video. What the hell? And I did try to download it to evade the commercials, but unfortunately it downloaded in like Hungarian or something. So that didn't work. It's really getting irritating. The internet is just ain't what it used to be. Alright, anyway. So, yeah, let's see what he says. See what the volume and such is like, and we'll see how things go.
Now, believe it or not, in quantum mechanics, you are actually a wave. Or
yeah, whatever. Right, I don't believe it. Okay, that's the simple argument. There's absolutely no evidence that I, am a wave in any medium of any kind, in any of that kind of crap. There's every bit of evidence that I am made of matter, and the matter has something called momentum. Pieces of it move. Okay, and that's all I am really made out of. There's a bunch of little tiny electrons and protons being pushed about by a force, elemental force that moves in straight line vectors, dead straight. I mean, yeah, there's some of it right down there. Little straight lines. Everything moves in straight lines. Little bits of energy, discrete pieces of stuff moving in straight lines. That's straight lines. Everything's made out of straight lines. Elementally. No waves.
at least you can be...
There's no such thing as an elemental wave. There's nothing elemental can do that kind of crap. You need a medium to do this kind of crap. And even with a medium, photons aren't doing this kind of crap. Jesus, well, they're supposed to be doing this and this at the same time. Oh, pathetically stupid.
Described by wave mechanics. Now, it actually sounds...
It isn't true, so that's the bottom line. They have a thing called interference, and it really doesn't happen. We already know you can't bang photons into photons. You can't bend a force with a force, so none of that ever applies. It's all just horseshit. You can't do it. It's just every bit of evidence says you can do every calculation with a straight line vector and figure out the right answer. And so water waves, if you use them as an analogy and say it's the same thing, it's not the same thing. It doesn't work. The math isn't the same. The cause and the effect are not the same. And it doesn't take much analysis to prove that.
Sounds crazy to us because I don't look like a wave. But as we zoom in and we begin to study individual atoms.
Right, so you can't study an individual atom, so that's all baby talk. It certainly isn't doing any of this horse shit. So again, they only admit that they already gave up on this description, that these electrons don't have any position. They're in woo space. They don't have a place. They're not really orbiting. They're not really doing a damn thing except being invisibly unlocated. Yeah, they have no place in the universe. It's a completely non-mechanical system. It's just a complete wooey mystics. It might be called voodoo physics, because that's all it is. It's just voodoo. Everything has got magical powers. There's nothing real in their physics anymore. All just wooey bullshit. And this is just a perfect example of the wooey bullshit. It's not even what they define the atom as. See the big clump here in the middle? There's no big clump in the middle, right? The nucleus is tiny, all right? And the electrons are miles away, in real distance, in relative distance. So if you could see the nucleus, you couldn't see the electrons because they're so far away, blah, 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 blah. So their own diagram doesn't look anything like this crap he's showing. And that just proves the physics is garbage. if they don't care that they're deceiving people with their own images, they obviously don't care about the truth.
And then we, and by we I mean humanity, probed even deeper to study.
So they didn't do any probing. This is all lies. They didn't take pictures. They didn't do any of this shit they claim. When they're saying they're taking a picture or something, they're never taking a picture of it actually. It's all just distortion, lies, hyperbole, fucking exaggeration. It's just a silly frickin' religion. It's not science. It's not proven by reliable quality experiments. It's only stated based on supposition and perversion of interpretation. Just perverse interpretations where they say things like, anytime there's an on-off pattern, it has to be interference. We say so. The simplest pattern in the universe you can produce has to always have the same cause, even though it's the simplest pattern the universe can produce.
Individual electrons and protons and how those little guys behave.
So what's this image of? Wait, what's this? So he has no images that are actually connected to the actual physics. This is just, like I said, this is just woo. This is just religion. Let me show you this little sparkly crystal. Let me sell you some glitter paint. I mean, this is just... yeah, it's just that. It's girly makeup physics. Let's pretend. It doesn't have anything to do with reality.
We found out that all matter...
What the fuck is that? What does that have to do with science? Oh, that's right. Absolutely nothing. It's just pretty.
Even though we think of it as sort of like a hard ball or a particle, it also has some sort of wave-like...
Says you. So there's no reason for a reasonable person to believe any of that crap. They'll never show a solid experiment showing any of that waving crap. They're never going to show it. And they'll just lie about some sort of idea that somehow the math works when it doesn't work. The fact is, if you use the double slit water math to do the double slit photon experiment, you're not going to get the right answers, because one is being caused by drag on the surfaces and the other one's being caused by scatter being created by the surfaces. In one case your wave is focused on the surface, in the other case the wave goes across the surface. Completely different phenomenon. Provably different phenomenon. I have proven it over and over again.
Character. Now this whole concept...
What is this shit? Right? What is this? So this is what they'll do. They'll sit there and, you know, look, see, I'm telling you it's something like this, right? I'm not going to make these things do anything else. They're never going to do all this wooey shit, because it's not wooey shit. It's a simple concept. It's a stuff moving a velocity. That's all that's in the universe, is stuff moving velocities. There's nothing else happening here.
Concept is called wave-particle duality.
Look at this mush.
And it's quite literally the cornerstone of modern...
Right, and it's quite literally a lie, a distortion, an exaggeration, a fable, a silly, preposterous Goldilocks story. You might as well talk about hobgoblin power. That's how bad it is. And they get away with this shit because you're all dumb, shitty dupes. And I mean by you all, I mean 9 out of 10 of you, or 99 out of 100 of you, or 999 out of 1,000 of you are stupid, moronic dupes.
Physics. Now you probably have a good idea in your mind what a wave actually looks like.
Yeah, oh yeah, I see that all the time. You know, in my toilet. Yeah, just, you know, it just happens to happen in the toilet a lot. I don't know what that is, but yeah, I see it all the time.
Like, for example, a water wave on a beach. We see it all the time.
Yeah, I saw that thing all the time. Oh, ridiculous. And again, it's, you know, I'll draw it. You know, it's the right thing to do. I'll just slide him out of the way for now. Okay, yeah. And so let's just point out the obvious first. I'll use colors since I have colors. It should work. Yeah, probably will work. All right, so let's say if this would be the water experiment for a single slit, right? Okay, water experiment for a single slit, right? The wave's coming this way, and what's going to happen is the water's going to stick to this surface, a little bit of friction, and what you're going to get is, the water goes straight through is going to go fast, and the water that's dragging is going to go slow. But the water molecules are stuck to each other, so they have adhesion. So that's why you end up with a round wave. Now let's look at the single slit in light. Nothing like it. Nothing. Not anything in similar, right? This doesn't make any interference pattern. Doesn't create any bars, all right? Just creates a blob across the surface. Nothing. This, okay, does create, okay, because it has two vectors, and the two vectors that you use mathematically are this vector, and you combine those to go to a location, and you say it's going to be an on or it's going to be an off based on whether there's a wavelength of difference in these lines. So it's in phase, out of phase, in phase, out of phase. And what you get is a double maxima, okay, and then you get nodes, okay. And that's what the experiment produces. So they're nothing alike. There's no even math for this because there isn't any interference, okay. So the single slit in water makes no interference pattern, okay. It doesn't do anything. Doesn't matter how big you make it, doesn't matter, can't make any interference pattern, can't happen. So just an absolute glaring fact, right? And yet they talk this crap that you're supposed to believe this is being caused by water. Now the one that gives it all away is the double slit, okay, because the double slit in water, all right, yeah, I'll draw water in one color, okay, yeah, and I'll do light in the opposite color. So in water, this is your expectation, right? You got two waves, and you're going to do this crossing over thing. Okay, so where are your centers? Here's your centers. That's where you have to draw your vectors from to figure out where your nodes are going to be. Now there won't be any double maxima, but this is the math you're going to use. And what happens in the double slit, okay, if you do it with open slits, now see what they do is they say, let's make the slits infinitesimally small. That means so narrow that you eliminate these 2 point sources, and you end up putting the two headlights right next to each other. So of course you can't see the two headlights as separate because they're right next to each other. Right, if I put a red headlight next to a green headlight, you're probably just, a blue, you're just going to see purple. Yeah. But if I put them far enough apart, you'll see red over here and blue over there. Well, anyway, what's really going to happen, I want to use the same color as the, well, it doesn't matter. All right, they're just going to do scatter here, and what you're going to get is a pattern, and it's the absolute fact is, so I'll just draw it going the opposite direction so you can see it. The absolute truth will be is that you'll get a dark spot, a light spot, when all four of these sources, that is, each one of these surfaces, the locations of these surfaces, create a wavelength of difference. That's when you get an on, and what you end up with is a complex pattern. Okay, they'll have odd number of nodes in the middle, then even number on either side, half that much. Okay, so it's 2, 2, then 3 in the middle, 2, 2. Okay, that's the pattern you get. So the pattern has the individual nodes, which will be equal to the biggest distance. That is, this distance will create the little dots, and the smallest distance will create these, the nodes, the envelope pattern it's called. That's what really happened. So there's no reason to believe in any of this horse shit. They got it all wrong. They haven't really analyzed it. They didn't even admit the truth that if they use the wave centers, this experiment doesn't work. Mathematically, you won't get the right answer. And the only way they can force you to get the right answer is to turn the double slit into the single slit. In the sense of they take the 4-surface experiment, turn it back into a 2-surface experiment, by making two of the surfaces so close together that they can't be a wavelength, the difference between them. So they just cheat. And it's an obvious cheat, for if you really take some time to really look at it. That is, you have to take a year or two if you're on your own. See, without my help, you're not going to see it. Because that took me years. It took me years to listening to their crap and then to keep drawing it and keep figuring out how are they making this lie up. How do they contrive this crap? And so you figure out this stuff because some people, cranks like Brozo, actually do the experiment and they actually figure out this odd number thing. And you figure out, oh, this is always an odd number here in the middle. And the nodes are always 1/2 that minus 1. So it's always that, oh, the simple answer is the nodes are just overlapping in the center. So you have a node of 3 over here, and you have a node of 3 over here, and they overlap, and it creates 5. It's that simple. And it's absolutely true. The math works perfect. Verifying it's all about these straight lines. There's no waves here. There's no interference. Nothing's interfering. It just has to do with in phase, out of phase, in phase, out of phase. That's all. 50-50 chance going in phase, 50-50 chance going out of phase. That's it. You're breaking the photons, then just remaking them. Simple answer. And yet you people believe this crap. They've never shown you any evidence. They just lie. They tell you they do electron experiments with slits. They don't do any such thing. It doesn't even make any sense. Electrons are charged. How could I put electrons through any slit device, okay, without them being affected by the surfaces? It'd be impossible. It's just such a lie. All right. Yes, these science presenters rarely diagram the mechanics they preach. Yes, of course, they showed you that wooey shit. That's enough for people. Look at his background. He's got this wooey shit in the background. You know, what does that wooey shit have to do with anything? Nothing. Not that this has anything to do with anything. It's just covering the basement. But anyway, people are just so full of shit. So, continuing.
It's a wiggly thing that goes up and down.
Oh, so how's the volume? Well, there's a person here. So is his volume the same as my volume?
That moves along, carrying energy with it. Remember, waves can knock you over.
Right, so we know this is not what a photon is doing. It lands as discrete bits of energy. Okay, the whole quantum thing was figured out by Einstein and Planck. And so why are you playing the game that somehow we don't know that this is discrete energy? It doesn't go to Venus. It doesn't go to Saturn. It doesn't go anywhere. They're discrete vectors, okay, and it doesn't retract its energy. It doesn't go to Venus, and then it says, oh, wait a minute, I'm supposed to hit over here, so yeah, come back from Venus and hit here instead. I mean, their theory is idiotic. It's so fucking crazy, and you people believe this shit.
Like when a wave knocks you over at the beach. And you also probably have a pretty good idea of what a particle looks like. For example, if you throw a baseball or a bullet, it's a contained...
Right, and that's exactly how photons behave. You know, you can just make a small little clump of material on a photographically sensitive plate, and you can turn it on and off by hitting it with a photon, demonstrating it's a clump. As Feynman would say, it's a clump.
Hard thing that we call a particle of matter. They seem totally different. Waves look totally different than particles. A wave is
so again, the demonstration that this medium idea doesn't work. Space isn't made out of jello. It's not transmitting anything. Okay, it's not doing anything. All right, and it takes time for stuff to get places because yes, things can't move instantaneously.
Extended, outstretched in space, and it travels and it carries with it energy. For instance, as we mentioned, it can knock you over or impart energy to an object.
Right, and it can't impart energy all over the place, and it doesn't. So again, their own experiment proves it in the sense that the pattern doesn't continue. So the pattern just shows up, gets weaker and weaker, and disappears. So if wave theory was right, then the pattern would go all the way 180 degrees on both sides. You could see the pattern on both sides. You just put a round catcher and you'd see it be just as intense here as it was here as it was here. So why the intensity difference? If it's not, okay, if it's a wave, it has to be equally intense. And it's not, clearly. So they should also say, okay, we get it, it's not a wave. Let's quit lying about it. Yeah, I wish I could start seeing real counter arguments from the kinetic energy side, but they can't, since their theory isn't any in reality but their religion. Yes, well, I'm just saying it's just kind of obvious. You have 350 years to show me 25 times the fuel to go 5 times as fast, or something going 5 times as fast doing 25 times the work. Just show me the motor or the turbine, right? The generator is a perfect example. Show me the generator where I spin it twice as fast and it makes 4 times the electricity, and then I spin it 3 times as fast and it makes 9 times the energy, and then I spin it 4 times as fast and it makes 16 times the electricity. None of that shit happens. Everybody should admit, yes, I know that shit doesn't happen. This fucker should admit that shit doesn't happen, and none of these fuckers will. And they should be called names because they're doing fucking science. Science is, if you don't take religion seriously, right? It's just fables and nonsense. What is there to take seriously but the goddamn truth? If you're going to pray to something, if you're going to revere something, if you're going to feel spiritually connected to something, it should be fucking science. It should matter to you fucking bastards. The truth is everything. Everything. There's nothing else more important than getting it right. And you fuckers don't care. You religious kooks. You scum. Because it's clear you don't have evidence for this bullshit. Any evidence for any of this bullshit. Going all the way back to Eddington again. This ridiculous experiment. Oh, God. He's a NASA engineer. And he lies about what Newton said, and about what Newton believed, and what science has proven. Scum.
But it's a very
Scummity scum.
spread out thing.
Fuck you. Look at this horse shit. Yeah, he's doing this shit. What is that shit? So the most elemental parts of the universe have all these fancy abilities. Look at what it can do. It can do all of this fancy shit. I have 100 billion neurons. I can't do that fucking shit. How come I can't do that? I'm really complicated. I should be able to do all those things. Why is something simple, dirt simple, able to do all of that shit? Whatever that shit is. Let's see. Came across a video by a channel called Fantastic Physics about the Eddington experiment, and doesn't mention anything about the limitations. What they don't mention is anything about his own fucking journal, where he sit there and said explicitly, I only got 10% of the data quality. I was, he says exactly, I was hoping for 10,000 stars per slide, and I only got 1,000. You can't be clearer about failure than that statement. Can you be any clearer? Well, except the part where he said I wouldn't stake my life on these results. Could he make it any clearer that the experiment failed dismally? The weather sucked? Yeah, no. And yet Einstein proven right. I mean, it's just such bad science. It's like, again, it's like putting a fucking chicken's head on the Brontosaurus. It's just fucking bullshit as science.
Of what a wave is. It is a spread out concept. And the concept of a particle.
Yeah, and there's no evidence of that in any photon experiment you can ever do. Do I have to actually shoot a laser beam into your face? Where does it look like a wave? You fucking Looney Tunes. How are you seeing a wave? How are you seeing something spreading out? I mean, you're just so full of shit. I mean, isn't the wave game over as soon as they invented the laser beam? Didn't that just make wave way too stupid? I mean, headlight made it too fucking stupid. When fucking Newton explained how rainbows are created, it was already too stupid because it's all straight line vector math. How would just a bunch of straight line vector math represent any kind of wave theory? Oh, God, you people are just... I can't believe the shit they talk.
Seems totally different because it's what we call localized in space, meaning that it's at a specific point, like here, or the particle might be...
Oh, the particle, the thing, the things. The things in the universe are things. They're not poofing in and out of existence. They're not magically poofing all over the universe. It's just such a pile of shit. Because we know the force and the essence of stuff moves at a very specific speed, and it can't violate that speed limit. So we know that the force is moving the speed of light, the speed of fucking force. The fact that they can't even get that right? We all know already, right? That, oh yeah, they were sort of wrong about calling it the speed of light because it's the speed of all the forces. So why are we calling it the speed of light when it's really the speed of force? And light just happens to be a force. Duh. I mean, I can't believe I have to do this. I have to say this to you fucking retards. You can't understand a simple concept like that. Yeah, that would be a perfectly reasonable evolution in the vocabulary, would be to acknowledge the fact that it's not about photons. It's about all the forces. Magnetism, gravity, electricity, they're all moving that same fucking speed. So they're obviously all the same fucking thing. Duh.
Here or here. It is not spread out in space according to our mental image that we have. And again,
So what the fuck? So this is a useful analogy? Oh, wait a minute. No, not useful at all.
particles can carry energy when it moves. And it's what I would like to talk about today. The crazy idea
that it's wavical particling nice. It's waving particle. No, it can't be waving particles, because that would still be particles. So it has to be waves of particles. Well, it can't be waves of particles, because then waves would be particles, and they can't. Well, it could. Oh, this is such fucking crap.
Easy sounding to us humans.
Yeah, exactly. How does these little ball knows how to do all this stuff? How does it know to obey your little fucking rules? Oh, I'll go up, and then I'll go down, and then I'll go over here, and then I'll go over there, and then I'll do all this stuff. How does it know to do any of that? What's forcing it to do all of that? Something what? A field that penetrates all of the universe to move one little photon. So every little single photon is moved by some energy field coming from 3 million different directions, telling the photon to bounce around. I don't fucking think so.
That in quantum mechanics, these two seemingly totally different things, waves and particles, are actually not so different at all.
Oh, it's just so stupid, right? I mean, to compromise. This is just like saying that momentum and kinetic energy are both useful terms in understanding. I can't say energy, right? Because momentum isn't energy. So somehow, what do I say? Motion? Oh, I can't say motion. So what am I supposed to call it, right? I mean, that's how perverse it is. But the very idea that these are compatible theories when they get completely different answers to a question. You ask, how much is my lunar module going to move? Well, if I calculate the kinetic energy, I'm going to get a different answer than if I calculate the momentum. And so I'm going to crash using one of those theories. It's indicating they're not compatible theories. Oh, they're just such liars.
And that in fact, every single thing around you has characteristics of both waves.
So it's just a lie. You're made out of elemental particles, electrons and protons. That's it. There isn't anything else. Material. And they're getting pushed around by force bits moving the speed of light. And that's all there is. That's the only universe there actually is. That's the one universe. Everything else is an extension of what happens in that universe. And it happens first in that universe. I couldn't do any of this stuff unless my electrons and protons make it happen. They do it. I don't do it. This universe with big stuff in it doesn't do it. That little tiny universe does all of it.
And of particles, and this is called wave-particle duality.
Stupid, fucktarded, nonsense, lying, sack of shit, bullcrap religion. That's what it is. This is just a bullshit religion. All you science lovers are just whores sucking on the fucking, tree sloth nipple. You're just disgusting perverts. Sucking on nonsense. Garbage shit. Yuck.
Okay, Richardson, give me the tree. The holidays are done.
No way,
Find
Linda.
right.
They are.
We thought so too, Gary.
Please
But then
kill
Verizon
the
just gave us their
fucking
best
ad.
deal.
4 new iPhone 17s, all on them.
Fuck
Yep,
you,
and 4 lines,
fuck
all
you,
for just
fuck
$25
you,
bucks.
fuck you, fuck you. Fuck you.
Now, I want you to picture the world around you, literally everything right in front of you. It might be your coffee mug, your desk, your smartphone, your
Now,
computer.
there it is again, just another picture of this whatever purpley fun stuff, and so yeah, everything's made out of purpley fun stuff. No, it isn't. Not even close.
Whatever's around you. Now go look outside the window and you might see a tree, you might see the sky filled with light, carrying energy from
Right, bouncing around in straight line vectors. I mean, I could draw the vectors for every single photon that's in that image. Every single pixel has a straight line vector of where the light came in from the sun, bounced off little pieces of the atmosphere, bounced across and bounced off pieces, and then finally hit the ground at some fucking angle. And I can trace every path as straight fucking lines. There's no fucking waves anywhere. They're all fucking straight fucking lines. How can you people pervert this into anything other than just fucking straight lines? Every single photon, straight fucking line.
the sun, very, very far away. These are everyday objects and they follow what we consider to be predictable rules that make intuitive sense to us.
So what is all this babble about? Okay, you're talking about the rules of the mechanism we're using to visualize something. That is, we're bouncing energy off of it, and it really is energy, it's force. That's why light is moving the speed of force, is because it is a fucking force, and we happen to have a force detector that can, you know, see a few wavelengths, a few hundred wavelengths worth of that force, and that's it. You know, there's a whole bunch of it out there, but we can't see. But yeah, we can see the stuff that's really abundant and that has a high resolution. And it also has the advantage of not being ionizing radiation, which will kill us. So it's probably best not to be able to see ionizing radiation that will kill you.
But if you zoom in, and I mean really, really zoom in, all the way down to the microscopic realm of atoms.
So again, we can't do that as a real event. Can't happen as a real event. They can only make a synthetic fake image. They can't make a real image of an atom. So again, more lies.
And their components like protons and electrons and
So here we are again, completely fake, wrong description. I mean, nobody thinks they're doing this orbiting thing like this anymore. So why don't you show us two atoms stuck to each other, because one of the things is going in a figure eight around both atoms. Why don't you show us that shit? Where have you ever seen that, right? The modern physicists, do they ever show you two atoms stuck to each other and explain how the orbitals connect? No, never show you that. And obviously this nucleus should be infinitesimally small, right? We shouldn't be able to see the nucleus. It's so damn fucking small.
even smaller things. You'll find that the everyday world seems to defy your everyday logic.
So no, it doesn't. That's the whole big, they keep saying that somehow we're in some realm that can't be understood, and we can't understand how it mechanically functions. We can't understand the dominoes. And there really are, that's fucking simple. We can't understand. Now I've given a pretty, it's just tragic and sad, like I said, that, nobody will pay attention to the truth. Nobody will be honest and accept, that there can be really simple explanations for events and things that happen. And so I've explained the most mysterious thing in physics, which is, why is there charge? Okay, I mean, why do electrons and protons actually function the way they do? And I've explained it with this simple idea that all you have to do is have electrons and protons, right? No neutrons. A neutron is just an electron and a proton close together. Well, that would be a proton. And this would be an electron. All right. And the simple argument is that, Maxwell drew you what charges look like, how they behave. And the fact is when he drew them, and you would understand them, basically they were radiators. Okay, so again, more straight line vectors. And the simple truth is they're radiating two opposite fields. And so Maxwell, he didn't have the right answer, so obviously he got this part wrong. He actually thought that there was some field that went out of one thing and into the other. So if I tested it with a negative charge, it would be going in this way, and if I tested it with a positive charge, it would be going the opposite direction, which doesn't make any sense, right? This can't be going inside of that, and this can't be going inside of that, and so that's all bullshit. So none of that's happening. But the simple rule is that you can make this happen by just having two kinds of force. So for the two kinds of matter, you have two kinds of force in the universe. You have this little red force, and you have the little blue force, electron force, proton force. And all I have to do is one little trick. So it just sticks or it reflects. And then the key argument is all I have to do is do this simple trick. All I have to do is make blue things go in, and they come out red, right? And then red things go into the blue thing, okay, and they come out blue. And all I have to do is that. And all of a sudden now I've created incredibly low pressure, okay, between electrons and protons, because no red force can hit the proton, and no blue force from this side can hit this electron, because it all turns red and just travels through it and changes color. So now I've turned both of these things into perfect radiators. The blue will only radiate blue, and the red will only radiate red. And it will create a perfect repulsion between the electrons, repulsion between proton and proton, and attraction between electron and proton. So that's all I need to do. That's it. That's simple. That simple mechanism works. And now they're going to tell you this is too complicated. We can't understand it. It's too mysterious. The functions are too obtuse and abstruse, and they use all this bullshit wordage, to kind of imply that somehow this is too complicated. No, it's not too complicated. You can make it out of something dirt simple, and they never tried. That was the real argument. They talk about like, oh, we're really smart and we tried. You didn't try. They didn't try at all. They never wanted the simple answer. They never looked for the simple answer because they didn't want the simple answer. They don't want to live in the real universe. They want to live in a wooey, God-driven, mysterious universe. Because if they create all this quantum mystery and all this poofing in and poofing out of existence, well, something has to be doing the poofing. The master poofer has to be poofing everything, right? So that's what they're really selling, is a poofy religion. They're not selling science. Because if you do the science, you think about it. It didn't take long. You look at Maxwell's drawings and you say, how can I make Maxwell's drawings happen? And that's how I make them happen. That's simple. It's that fucking simple. And they never tried. Fact.
In this quantum realm, particles don't seem to behave like tiny little hard marbles like we imagine, because we interact with objects all the time.
So again, a completely fake drawing, right? It's like from 1964. Nobody thinks atoms look like that anymore. And I'm obviously arguing for a very simple version of their silly atom. So let's just understand, atoms don't have a bunch of moving parts. Now they do have a lot of jiggle. Okay, as Feynman would say, but they're a magnetic charge driven, and so the fact is that the nucleus has electrons and protons in it. Okay, and that's why it is held together, is because the electrons and protons are arranged, okay, with a 2-to-1 relationship, where the electrons are moderating the protons. So essentially, you have a proton, electron, proton. And now you can get the protons very close together. And that elemental piece is what the whole atom's nucleus is made out of. Electron, proton, electron. Proton, electron, proton. That arrangement, okay, is... And this is the thing they said they can't make. This is the thing they say can't happen. They need a strong force to push these two things together, when obviously... In Maxwell's day, you could understand if I wanted to get two charges close to each other, if I wanted to get two plus charges close to each other, I'd just stick a negative charge between them. And voila, task completed. I want to get two north magnets close to each other, I just put a south magnet between them. No problem. So that's the bullshit of this physics. But anyway, point is that that's your nucleus, and then your extra electrons are just stuck in geometric positions out here. Okay, and you can sort of understand that, you know, they'll be further away from each other and they have to have a balance because they're all basically hating each other, and so the pressure between them has to balance. So every electron that sees any other electron is going to balance to it. They're all seeing each other, and they're all pushing on each other in the sense that if I move closer to an electron, the force bounces off me, goes to the other electron, and basically pushes it away. So they're all connected to each other and all pushing on each other. So they're all doing this. They're you know, but they're not spinning around. They're not orbiting. They're pushing on each other like this. Now I could show you a magnetic video. Now I wish my computer crashed the other day, so I lost the link to it. I should have saved that. But it's a guy that has lots of magnets on his channel. So anyway, but he put magnets in one of these conditions, and he just wobbles them. He wobbles one magnet, and all the other magnets shake. And that's exactly the model. That's how atoms work. Atoms are magnetically fixed. The north monopole and the south monopole. That's what an electron and proton are. There are the magnetic monopoles. That's the truth. Ugh, people are so stupid.
Time like that, instead they exhibit what we consider to be mysterious dual nature. Sometimes they act kind of like particles that bounce off each other, and other times they seem more like...
This is true. Okay, so this is just, it's just so silly to say it, right? Like sometimes the lever makes the thing leave with 1.4, and then sometimes the lever makes it leave with twice the velocity, right? Sometimes pulleys work, and sometimes pulleys don't work. Sometimes they conserve momentum, and sometimes they conserve kinetic energy. No, it isn't like that. It's either one or the other. You have to pick a side, okay? There's not two sides here. There's not something other than two sides. It's like you can't pick on... There's no clones. There's no the two things are the same. There's no they're both the same. There are real differences, real consequences, and you have to use your brain and figure out both can't be true.
Waves that interfere with each other. And again, this is called wave-particle duality.
It's nonsense. Yeah, well, I mean, that's another... It's almost like Schrodinger's cat. You're just saying, right on the surface, you're saying, what the fuck are you talking about? Compromise poop? I mean, why don't you just call it shit nonsense? You know, I mean, it doesn't make any sense. You're just basically advocating for, like, it's smart but stupid. It's wet and dry. I mean, it's just stupid. The bullet has 2,000 joules of energy, and the bullet has 2 joules of momentum. It has both. Isn't that amazing? No, it's not amazing. It's stupid.
It takes a while to wrap your mind around it, but it's crucial to modern theories.
Oh, it's not crucial to anything. So another big fat lie that has anything to do with anything that we have in terms of technology. Has nothing to do with it. I worked in electronics in the late 70s, in the early 80s, and you know, when they were inventing the integrated circuit, I was using diodes, you know, when they were only red and they only lasted like 3 weeks. I remember the first laser diode, and it was right around 1980, maybe a year earlier, 1979. It was $40, you know, and it only lasted a few hours. So we never made a machine with one because, yeah, they were really expensive and they didn't last long enough, but they were pretty cool.
Of what's happening as if they are particles, and that picture of the world makes sense. And in other experiments, we model their interaction more like waves with air.
So it's again, it's just nonsense, right? So again, if you model it as waves in the double slit experiment, you won't get the right answer. It won't work. If you think of bulging waves coming out of the openings, and you use the center of that wave to do your math, your vector math, you won't get the right answer. It's clearly not right. It's not right physics. It's the wrong answer. Wrong answers aren't a good thing. you're not accurately predicting. So they keep claiming they're making accurate predictions. You won't accurately predict where the pattern is. You won't get the right answer.
Interference, and that seems to make more sense. So often we find ourselves switching back and forth between these two mental models because whatever an
There it is again. So some other silly, flashy bullshit, so another fake model, doesn't have anything to do with reality, not even by their own story. This isn't what the fucking thing looks like. So they just keep showing us images that have nothing to do with their actual diagram.
electron is, whatever a photon is, whatever these little microscopic quantum.
So we know a photon is a frequency. That's the biggest, number one thing you can say about a photon is it has a frequency. And then it also has a polarization, which makes it interesting. And especially when you use radio photons, the polarization is exactly proportional to the antenna. Yeah, so the antenna has a huge amount to do with your polarization. Indicating that this is a real thing coming off of the antenna, and the idea that a radio wave is going to be 10 miles long, that some blob is coming off the antenna that's 10 miles. No. But the idea that a little clink happens, something moves, and then, a second later, something else follows it, and then a second after that, something else follows it, that makes perfectly good sense. The idea that you're just shooting baseballs and you're just receiving them at a frequency, and that's the signal, that's the message. And so that's all you're doing. You're just sending a frequency, and the frequency is a message. It says something. Blue, red. It says something.
Things are. They have characteristics of.
Look at that piece of shit. So what is that? Again, what is these images? What is this image is supposed to be? What is this thing, this material this thing is made out of? What is all this crap? What does this have to do with actual describing actual reality, actual physics? And again, where's the vectors here? Where's the straight line motion? Oh yeah, it's nowhere to be found, even though that's what gets the right answer.
Waves and characteristics of particles, but they're neither a wave nor a particle.
Yeah, you keep saying it, all right, but you won't show it, you won't prove it, that's for sure. This is just your wooey religion. So you're just telling us your own perverse little weird story, about your magic penis or something. This is just a bullshit story you're making up, fella.
Particle, they are something else that has characteristics of both of these things that we have in our mind.
Says you. I don't have both things in my mind, never had both things in my mind, never made any goddamn sense. This silly drawing of this fucking bullshit.
Now, in the beginning of scientific thought, people obviously wondered what actually.
Yeah, people wondered because they didn't do. They did do it. There was a lot of people that said it has to be simple. It has to be made out of something simple. It can't be made out of something more complicated than us. It has to be made out of something simpler than us. That's how evolution works. Simple things be turned into complex things.
Is light. Right? And so the thought early on was that it was a stream of particles coming in from wherever.
Yes, right, Newton. So from wherever, we already know they're either reflecting off something, they're bouncing off, angle in, angle out, just like you'd expect from a baseball. It works perfectly. All the mechanics works just fine. It makes perfectly good sense if you think about it just a little bit. I mean, even the change of the refractive index makes perfectly good sense that if you go into a denser material, the electrons are going to be pushing in and out of the surface. So when the photon goes in, it's going to push more energy in. So obviously it's going to bend in because it's adding energy every time it hits an electron that's moving in. It's adding energy to it. So the electron energy is going to add to the photon's energy, and of course, so that would bend it in.
And we were being bombarded by tiny little particles. That was the.
I mean, all of these things can be explained with a particle model, no problem. And the big joke is they call it particle physics. They imply that their physics has something. They use the word vector all the time, and yet they have absolutely no respect for discrete vector mechanics. and they just believe everything is in this wooey, fake wooey space, and all this magic happens. All this magical functions, magical spins, magical woo numbers. You know, what's your woo number?
Idea of the time. It made sense because when you go to the beach and you examine sand, it's tiny little particles. When you dig down in dirt and look microscopically, it looks like little particles of dirt. So maybe light is a stream of some invisible little particle looking things.
So again, why can't you just say, obviously there's a whole bunch of them that are invisible to us still. So why are you talking about like invisible as some kind of magical property? No, it's not a magical property at all. There's a whole bunch of them are still invisible to us. All right, we can't even make a machine to detect some of it. So what are you talking about? You know. So there's that. But and so why don't you just say, yeah, it's a, you know, I can make a frequency by throwing baseballs at a timed sequence, and they'll hit the surface with the same frequency I throw them at. So what's wrong with that theory? You know, I'm arguing nothing's wrong with it.
Right? But then as we did more experiments with light, we figured out that light, it does kind of behave like particles, but it also has characteristics of waves.
So it doesn't. So that's just a lie.
Mostly because light interferes with each other.
Okay, so there's no evidence of this interference. So if you use radio antennas from two sides, they won't be able to interfere with each other, and yet you can move a receiving antenna between them, and it'll go on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off, proving that it's not about waves interfering with waves.
Now, when I interfere, what I'm talking about is if you take two light beams and cross them through each other, much like sound waves, you can get the crest of the wave to line up and add.
So it doesn't happen. So he just says this is happening, doesn't happen. We don't know, you can't do that. Can't shoot two layers of beams and create some third beam. So again, just lie. Doesn't happen. And it doesn't happen in slit experiments, okay? Slit experiments aren't magical, and now all of a sudden the photons can interfere with each other because I put them through a slit. I mean, if you believe that, that's just so fucking ridiculous. Why putting a photon through a slit, why would that make any goddamn difference? Now, magically, the slits can't interfere. Well, if I shoot a laser beam through here, it's not going to make it interfere with another laser beam shot through my fingers here, right? So we know this is a bullshit statement. It's not going to work. There's no experiment demonstrating it. There's nothing magical about it. You have to be close to the surface. That's the thing that matters. The fucking surface obviously causes the effect. If I put the two surfaces this far apart, they don't do anything. There's no fucking phenomenon. It's all gone. It disappears. It doesn't happen anymore. So obviously the only thing that's causing the effect are the surfaces. Duh. God, you people are so fucking dumb.
And you can get the troughs of the wave to also line up as well.
So what is this? What does this have to do with the troughs of the wave? Oh, amazing bullshit.
And depending on exactly how they're shifted and what the different frequencies of these waves are, then
so he puts frequencies in quotes when it's the most outstanding feature that photons have. It's not some kind of weird concept. It's a very real concept. It's a real thing. Frequency. And what does frequency usually mean? Yeah, it means a time between events. That's what a frequency usually means. Time between events. Why can't you just see the photon as that? Is that it's a group of events with a amount of time between the events. And that's a photon.
and you can either get constructive interference where everything gets, the amplitude gets bigger.
So again, it doesn't work. There's no medium for photons, and you can't do any of these experiments. You can't make these waves combine or waves subtract from each other. None of this can happen.
Of the wave, or destructive interference where things begin to cancel. And we can see this behavior in sound. Sound is a wave as well, compression wave, and we can see it in light as well with many, many kinds of experiments. So originally light...
So no, you can't. All right, so it's just lying, just exaggerating, lying. Okay, there's no electron experiment that demonstrates this shit. They just lie, 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 lie.
light was thought
Look
to
at
be a
this silly.
particle
What's this silly shit?
because it kind of made sense with what we see around us.
Well, what is this silly shit? So again, they're implying that these things fly into each other and annihilate, and then they poof back into existence in some magical heaven. I mean, it's such a religion.
And everything else. But then it had this wave-like character. So for a long time, we knew that light behaved kind of like a particle,
What is this?
and then kind of like a wave. But then at the turn
So this is physics. This is what you fucking morons will applaud. You'll lick this up. You'll suck at this tit of this fucking wooey shit. You think the mechanical universe runs on this crap. This purpley whatever shit.
of the, in the 1800s going into the 1900s, when quantum theory began to be discovered and invented, there were more experiments done that really showed that light behaves much more like a particle based on experiments such as the...
So the photoelectric effect is really two different effects. So they don't even get this part where they should say it right. You can create electricity by hitting a metal, right? So almost any metal will create, will work a little bit like a solar panel, and obviously you can maximize that function. But yes, you can create electricity, and then if you hit it with high frequency light, you can actually eject electrons. But you can create electricity with lower frequency light.
photoelectric effect, which would...
And what's electricity, right? I mean, again, you have to understand that what happens when we put electricity through a wire? Well, it sends a signal to another wire. So it's sending a frequency, some information to the other wire to cause the same effect in the other wire. And you can understand that, well, yeah, if I make something happen to atoms, if I make atoms do this, and then there's atoms over here that are metal, they have the right, they're polarizable, okay, iron or some kind of metal, they'll start mimicking that behavior, right? Whatever happens over here, this side, when it pushes that way, right? Push, push, push. The other wire's receiving it as squish, 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 which is exactly the same thing as what was going on over there, right? So it's going to cause the same effect in the atoms. So the electricity is just going to mimic electricity through the transfer of the motion. The fact is, it's doing this, and if there was another me over there, it would be feeling this. It would be getting its hand pushed on when I push. When I push, it would get pushed back because there's a real force between us. And when I push on the force, I'm going to cause it to get a higher and higher frequency. That's how it's going to reflect off my hand. Whatever's coming at me, if red light was coming at me and I do this, blue light's going to go back. It's that simple. Particles works. A particle theory works just fine. Don't need any of their woo.
Were done back then. Now, fun fact, Albert Einstein is one of the most famous scientists, maybe even the most famous scientist of all time.
Right, not for necessarily very good reason. So, yes, but this photoelectric effect paper was very good. Brownian motion paper, very good. The ones he's most famous for are just crap. Okay, the whole relativity shit is just shit. That's just spooky action. Frankly. The bent geodesic done it. Silly answer. Gravity's not a bent nothing. It's not.
But he actually did not win a Nobel Prize for his theory of relativity. You know what he won a Nobel Prize for is his theory of the photoelectric effect. Basically, they did experiments with light shining on metal, and they figured out that some...
So again, yeah, Einstein didn't do the experiments, so let's just understand. So he just analyzed experiments that he was told about, provided a reasonable explanation for why the experiments produced the outcome they produced. And the simple argument is, they're using some argument like, okay, you got to knock something out of a well, to get it to pop out or something. And so you need more energy or something. And that's not the right answer. The right answer is in the idea of frequency. And the simple answer is, if I want to tip something over, if I throw 3 baseballs really quickly after each other, then it tips, and the next ball hits, and it tips, and then the next ball hits, and it tips. So if I have them hit in sequence, it tips over. But if I have a slow frequency, well, then it tips a little bit, but it heads back. And I hit them again, well, I'm only going to go that far, and then I'm going to tilt back, and then it's going to hit again, so I won't tip it over. So you could use tipping point as an argument. What we're really talking about is a resonant frequency. And what you're saying is, I can add energy to a system if I add the energy while it's still moving. So as long as it's moving in the same direction as the force I'm adding, then I'm going to add energy. If I try to do it when it's moving back, well, then I'm going to lose the energy. It's going to cancel, essentially. So the only way I can add energy to the system is I have to hit it when it's going my way. And that just proves my theory about how electrons and protons work. That it is like Sisyphus. You have to only push an electron in one direction. You can't have force pushing it in 2 directions at the same time. It can only push in one direction. And if force hits it in the opposite direction, it has to cancel. And so all that makes perfectly good sense. All right, so he's just showing the foil leaf, the fact that you can use ultraviolet light to knock electrons off the surface. And that's only because you're hitting the electrons with a higher frequency. That is, all the energy is in a smaller package. And so you're hitting it, you're exposing it to the energy more quickly, which means you're just basically saying, I'm going to hit it before it slows down. So while it's still moving, I'm going to hit it with the next piece of energy. So then all the energy gets in. If I hit it after it slows down, I'm not going to get anywhere, right? Just think about it. If I threw a baseball into a wagon, and the wagon moved 10 miles an hour, and then started slowing down, and I waited until it was only going 1 mile an hour when I threw the next baseball, then it's only going to go 11 miles an hour. See, I'm never going to get anywhere. But if I threw the baseball and it goes 10 miles an hour, and I throw a second baseball when it's still going 7, then I'm going to be going 17 miles an hour. Get it? Not complicated.
Sometimes light can shine on metal and kick out an electron from the metal. But
see this? This is not a credit card.
Yeah,
even though it looks like one at first glance.
Who cares?
The way that they did the experiment, it was very curious because it was unexplainable with the wave theory of light. The wave.
So again, they say it's unexplainable, but it really isn't, because all we have is clump detectors. I mean, electrons are a clump detector. The electron either does or does not do something, right? So in a sense, it's an all or nothing device. It either leaves the surface or it stays on the surface. So in a way, you could argue it can only detect clumps. So it doesn't even prove the point, frankly. I don't think it's a very good proof, but that's not the real point. The point is there's so many other ways to prove particles works better. You don't need Einstein's analysis to prove particles work better. There's better ways to prove it. Okay, let me see. Let's see. Unbelievable. They really fall for this shit. Yes, it is depressing. I mean, it's always been, me, and that's it. I mean, it's just so few people that you can get to accept that all of this woo is complete. It is ugly and sissy and girly and creepy. I don't know why this is appealing to anyone who cares about science. It's so anti-evolution as an answer. This is the exact opposite of a Darwinian theory. I mean, this is just so ugly and full of woo that why do they find this appealing? It doesn't. Quantum mechanics and Darwin don't mix at all. Geology and quantum mechanics, no, it doesn't mix at all. This is just horrible fucking science.
It was behaving it was not consistent with light being a wave. Einstein put forth the idea, which was revolutionary at the time, that light, it might have wave-like characteristics, frequency and wavelength, but it also comes in discrete chunks. It only comes one chunk at a time.
Well, it only comes in a full photon, so that's all you have. It has to either make a photon or it doesn't make a photon. So the frequency either has to be complete and it has to be accurate and complete and it makes a photon, or there's something broken and it doesn't make a photon. So the demonstration of that is with polarizing film, because you can essentially make photons disappear, but you're not using them, in the sense that your blocking filters aren't going to get hot. So they're obviously not using the photon. They're not absorbing its energy. So in some other way, they're making the photon invisible. And the other way is that they're breaking the frequency. It's the simple answer. They're breaking the phase, which is breaking the frequency.
And we call that now a photon. So Einstein never won the Nobel Prize for...
So he used the term light quanta. Okay, now that could be understood two different ways, right? He could be saying, oh, the whole photon is a light quanta. Or he could be saying that the photon is made out of light quanta, little discrete bits at a frequency. But he didn't write enough of a paper to know which he was arguing for. He really didn't provide much detail. It's a 3-paragraph paper.
Relativity, he won the Nobel Prize for his explanation of what a photon was. And let me just set the stage with a little more detail. When I say people thought light was a wave, I mean that there was an entire theory that was written down and that agreed with observations.
So again, we know that Newton's theory of rainbows was written down and it doesn't agree with your observations. There's nothing waving in there. There's no wave mechanics that make it make any sense at all. It's all little tiny straight line vectors. So it makes a mockery of this argument that somehow this is about waving.
There is a set of equations called Maxwell's equations. They involve...
Yeah, there's no waves in Maxwell's equation. So again, that's more horseshit, where they just keep implying that Maxwell had waves in his equation. There's no wave function in Maxwell's equations. Maxwell's math does this. Okay, I mean, there's a whole bunch of drawings by Maxwell. All right, so they just lie about this crap. I mean, it is disgraceful that they just lie about everything. They can't tell the truth about a single goddamn thing. And why can't I select that? It's just strange. I mean, it should let me select the damn thing. And just slide it out of here. Alright. So, new paper. So Maxwell drew charges just as I drew them, essentially. Okay, and the key thing was if you're going to analyze two charges, let's say there were two electrons, or two negative charges. Let's just say they were negative charges. This would be basically the way you would analyze it. Let's say the charge density could be represented as lines, okay, equally spaced, vector lines, and in 3 dimensions. Okay, you could understand it. It's going to be the inverse square law. But the point is that you could measure how strong your interaction was by just saying I could put anything in space and I can measure how many lines intersect with this object and how many lines intersect with this object, and I can weigh, okay, the influence of their fields. So no matter, obviously when you're closer to a surface you're going to break more lines than when you're further away. So it gives you this obvious proportion. So you can understand that yes, if I put a charge in between the two, it's going to be equal. If I put a charge closer to this one, it's going to be, by the inverse square law, stronger in terms of its pull this way than its pull that way. All of that. So it's but it's all vectors again. It's all vectors. His math is vectors. Okay, his math isn't waves.
Electric fields and magnetic fields, and Maxwell's equations predict that light is a propagating disturbance in the electromagnetic.
So it doesn't predict any of that. That's just Maxwell's interpretation. So that's just like Huygens saying it or anybody else saying it. There's no reason to believe it. That's his perversion. Okay, I mean, Faraday thought all of this stuff inside of material was all gears, that there were little gears turning, and those were the atoms were made out of gears, and there was idler gears and all kinds of different kinds of gears. People can believe all kinds of crap. There's nothing in Maxwell's analysis that proves this theory except his belief in an ether. And that's it. So that's why he believed this field thingy oscillating crapola, but it doesn't have a damn thing. There's no math that interprets that drawing into the math. The math doesn't make this drawing. This is just their interpretation of something as simple as a frequency. They've taken a dot, 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 and then polarization, where the dots are separated. Okay, so there's straight line here, parallel line here, parallel line here. That's a polarization. They've taken that diagram, and that's what the math actually describes, is just polarization and frequency. I don't even know if he has polarization in his math, frankly. I'm not sure. But it doesn't matter. The point is, it's just a frequency, okay? You don't have to draw it this silly way. No obligation to draw the frequency this silly way.
Field. So it's a propagating, rippling disturbance in those fields, and they carry with it.
So it's obviously not a wave. It's not spreading. So why does he keep using the word wave in terms of a concept like a waves go everywhere when he keeps drawing it as a thing, a straight vector ray? So why does he keep calling it a wave when it's a ray? Anybody got an answer for that?
Energy. And so because it was described as a wave, then obviously light can interfere.
So it wasn't described by the math as a wave. It's only Maxwell's own religion.
And if you've ever looked at a soap bubble or any kind of soapy film, like maybe a puddle on the side of...
So again, if you're going to analyze thin film, and that's about a thin film, all of it's vector math again. All of it is straight line vector math. There's no waves involved.
The road with a very light soapy film or maybe even an oily film, often you'll see those beautiful little colors, like on a bubble, for instance, those beautiful colors that are swirling around. The different colors that you see in
are made by the reflection of the vector bouncing in between the surface, the exterior surface and the front, the two surfaces. It's just the bouncing between the surfaces. That's what it's being created by. Okay, it's a vector. It's not a wave.
Film like that is because of interference of the light waves. They're
bullshit.
Bouncing around that thin layer. Sometimes,
yeah, he says they're bouncing. Right, they're bouncing.
Sometimes they're adding up and sometimes they're subtracting, and you see that as different colors in the...
So that's just bullshit. There's no adding and subtracting, so you can't prove any of that horseshit about any kind of adding and subtracting crap. Nope.
Film. So we have so many...
It just has to do with angles and refractive index.
Experiments showing light as a wave. It was a radical departure when Einstein proposed that maybe light comes in discrete chunks of energy.
So this whole idea that somehow they had well-analyzed soap bubbles is bullshit, because they hadn't. Okay, so somehow they had some previous theory. No, they had Leibnizian notions. That's all they had. That had Huygens said, okay, it's a wave. So they were still in 1750 kind of, or 1650 evidence. They didn't have any spectacular evidence for any of this crap.
Called a photon, because that was the only way to get some of these newer experiments, like the photoelectric effect, explained. Is that if we postulate that light not only has a wave-like character, which we thought forever, but it also has a particle-like character.
So this is just bullshit. They don't think it's made, the wave is made out of particles. Here they're showing you some kind of particle matrix that's creating wave phenomenon. Well, that wouldn't be saying that there isn't particles, right? So they're admitting it's made out of particles, right? Oh, okay. And somehow the particles know how to do all of this stuff because they're somehow stuck to each other like water waves. Water behaves the way it does because the water molecules are stuck to each other. Sound only works because the atmosphere is compressed. If you expand the atmosphere and allow it to be at its own pressure, it's what it would be pressure, right? Because the atoms hate each other. There's no sound transmission. So as soon as I make the air thin enough, sound stops. So, these are not phenomena being created as elemental things. These are phenomena created by special circumstances. pressurized atoms or atoms that are actually stuck to each other like water. They're combined, they're stuck to each other. They're electrically stuck, magnetically stuck.
Character in that it comes in chunks. That was the first crack in the door towards what we now call wave-particle duality.
Big lie, phony, phony, fake, fake.
Now your natural question is, well, if
What the fuck is this?
light kind of looks like a particle sometimes, or we think of it as a particle.
So that's actually a more reasonable description of frequency, is just showing the fact that the baseball's here, then it's here, then it's here, then it's here. But whatever.
And sometimes we think of it more as a wave. How do we reconcile those two pictures? In other words, what...
Yeah, what's the point? Is it physics? Is it science? Is this any kind of real drawing of the monster? No. So this is just, they're just making dragons out of, water buffaloes. This is some sort of, some kind of, this is Sasquatchian, right? I mean, they're just making this up in the sense that, well, if I squint my eyes and turn my head just right, I can make that picture of a bear look like a man in a Sasquatch suit. It's just such bullshit.
What would it actually look like? Well, I don't have the answer for you. It might be impossible.
Oh, you said in the title of your video that it's 100% true. That was in his title, before he changed the title of the videos, right? I mean, it's just such bullshit to change titles of a video. Ugh.
For us to actually visualize.
I did that once. YouTube had something where you could test different titles, and I just said, boy, this is so wrong. This is not what people should be doing with their videos, is changing the titles.
But a helpful cartoon is to think of a wave packet. In other words, instead of...
Oh, whatever, just think of something that doesn't possibly exist, that wouldn't have any confinement, that isn't a rational object. Fine, yeah, it's just too ridiculous.
Thinking of a wave just going on and on and on, think of a wave that it gets bigger, and then smaller.
Oh, yeah, so it doesn't do that, right? There's no photon that gets, I'm a little bit of a photon, then I'm a big photon, then I'm a little bit of a photon. Photons don't land on surfaces like that. So again, that's what's more the horseshit. That's what Einstein proved, is that there's no amplitude. It's either a clump, it's all or nothing. There's no, I'm a little bit of a photon, I'm almost a photon, I'm partially a photon. No. Bullshit.
Smaller. So it has an envelope of a packet of energy traveling, but inside it's an oscillating.
So there's just no evidence that a photon has any amplitude at all. Every single photon is exactly the same size, and the frequency, obviously he's got frequency changing inside the photon. What sense does this fucking picture make, right? The frequency isn't even consistent in what he just drew here. There's no photon that has multiple frequencies. So it's just absolute shit as a drawing. And what would be causing all of this, whatever this is? He doesn't even have the density of the particles, in the sense of high density, high density, high density, high density. He doesn't even have that. I mean, it's just a useless pile of shit drawing.
Wave. What?
We all do it. You see a line and wonder, should I join it? Even crazier is that folks stick with insurance that keeps them waiting around to find a claim, while Geico's claim support is available day or night. What are you waiting for?
No one knows.
It feels good to step out of line.
Whatever a photon is, whatever it actually is, if you could look at one, it has aspects of waves and aspects of particles. Now let's fast forward away from light. And let's start to talk about matter, because
okay, so this will be too silly, right? So he does a video that's supposed to be about this one subject and demonstrating this wave-particle duality horseshit, and then he's going to change the subject. So now he's going to pretend that now all these other things, boulders and all this other matter, is somehow waving. So it's not really made out of anything. It's all made out of some sort of wavy stuff. Nothing's real, just wavy shit.
Parallel with studying light, scientists were also studying matter. Eventually,
so they didn't study matter. So there's nothing. They weren't studying any more than we can see what they study, right? There's no mystery here. We know we can't put atoms under a microscope and see an atom. We can't do it. So why are we pretending there was something to study?
we figured out that all of the matter that you see around us is basically built upon these things called atoms. Originally, they thought atoms were totally...
So we know this isn't their image, so why are you showing this fake image? It's not your quantum mechanical model, so why are you showing it to us? It's not your wave particle model.
Indivisible, and that atoms were fundamental and you couldn't split them any further. And so we made a periodic table of these elements, and things like water and carbon dioxide.
So we know that we were splitting atoms, you know, in the 1800s. So we already knew that the alchemy thing was happening. We could break atoms and degrade them into other substances. So there's no magic there anymore.
And other, you know, iron oxide and other things were basically just different combinations of these elements. So that was a huge step forward to understanding how things like water and, carbon dioxide and other gases actually form from smaller.
So this chemistry part is interesting, but again, this doesn't have anything to do with their atomic theory, because again, their atomic theory doesn't make any sense. They're saying they can have an atom where the electron swings around both nucleuses. I mean, when they told me that, right, in whatever, 7th grade, and I was like, what? Who would be fooled by that, right? If I was an atom, and I'd be saying, oh, the electron is on the other side of the other nucleus. How would I feel like I should hang around? Like it's compelling, like it's attracting me when it's a million miles away and I can't even see it. It's on the other side of the sun kind of thing. I mean, it's ridiculous theory that somehow that would hold an atom together. Bullshit.
Building blocks. Of course, now we know that atoms are not indivisible. They're composed of smaller things called protons, neutrons, and electrons.
So there are no neutrons. So this is the big lie, okay? They already know the neutron decays into an electron and a proton. And let's just laugh. And an anti-neutrino. It's not even a regular neutrino. It's an anti-neutrino that has almost zero energy. So let's just understand, neutrinos are almost nothing. They're so close to nothing. I mean, like 1,000,000 times less energy than an electron. So we know it's a nothing event. So why are they even adding it is just to do some mathematical cleaning up. So it's just the simple truth is that the neutron is a proton and an electron. And let's get serious. How the fuck can these assholes claim, oh yes, we measured their mass? How did they do that? I mean, it's just such bullshit. They did it with mv squared, which is double bullshit. So we know they don't have those numbers perfectly correct. But the simple answer is, okay, just think of the blue things as electrons and the red things as protons. So you have twice as many protons as electrons inside the nucleus, and then the rest of the electrons, to even the score, are on the outside, and they're in fixed positions. They would never be, electron. You see those two electrons? They would never be there, right? If there was going to be another electron, it has to be here, and then it has to go out here. It would never be next to another electron, right? So they don't even obey their own fucking, what can or can't happen. Electrons would never, be able to stand being that close to each other. So they'd have to be in positions where the forces balance. I mean, it's just so ridiculous. They can't get any of this right. They think the high pressure is on the outside of the atom, and the low pressure electron is on the inside. And you're saying, how could you think the electron on the inside is under low pressure? I mean, it's so ridiculous. It's closer to the protons. How could it be under less pressure? That is, how could it be harder, easier to pull away when it's closer to the fucking protons? The only thing holding the electrons are the protons. And the thing closest to the protons is going to be the hardest thing to kick out, not the easiest thing to kick out. So they got the physics way wrong.
And of course, now in the modern era, we know that neutrons and protons are composed of something even smaller in the modern theories called quark.
Right. We don't see, where did we see any evidence of a quark? Have you seen a picture of anything? Have you seen anything at all? I have seen in my whole life absolutely nothing. They haven't shown me a cloud chamber image. They haven't shown me anything to indicate there's any such thing as a fucking quark. Nothing. It's just some theoretical thing they claim. They broke a proton and it turned into this shit. But they don't explain to me why I should believe that. Because they don't show me what convinced them that it's true. because the evidence does suck. That's the simple answer. The evidence sucks. That's why they don't show it to you, because it sucks. It's just theoretical nonsense. Let's make something that's 1/3, and then we'll make something that's 2/3, and then when you add 2/3 and 1/3, you get a 1. You know, that kind of bullshit.
So forever and ever and ever, people recognized or thought that matter was composed of tiny little particles, and they studied atoms, and they studied...
So it is really clear that it really is. Electrons and protons are really strong. Charge is a really strong idea, and that it's completely controlled by electrons, and that nucleuses are completely controlled by protons. These are really strong ideas. So yeah, fuck you. Really strong. That's all you need. You don't need anything else to make atoms than positive and negative charges.
electrons, and they studied neutrons, and they studied protons, and they studied all the atoms.
So bullshit studied bullshit. Bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. They did abstract experiments with very complex bullshit and made all kinds of assumptions about what they were seeing. So again, they lied about their own experiments. We know they can't tell the truth about anything. So they've lied about the double slit. Okay? They lie about, like, they'll do a crystal experiment and they call it a double slit. There's no slits. So they lie. Stern-Gerlach is an experiment shooting silver atoms. They lie and say, "Well, we're measuring the spin of an electron." How the fuck are you doing that? By moving a big giant atom through space. I mean, it's just such a fucking lie. Okay, you're obviously measuring the polarity of individual silver atoms. All atoms have some magnetic, some polarity. None are perfectly symmetrical. So almost all atoms can be magnetic as single atoms. And so they're particularly predicting silver because it has this one extra electron that makes it very polar. And so it moves in a magnetic field. Duh! And they're calling that electron spin. I mean, it's just such bullshit. So they lie about every experiment. So why would you trust them about how they define these quarks and all these gluons and all this other pooon shit and the rest of it when they lie about all these experiments?
To understand the particle nature of matter. And it seems that everybody knew what matter actually was. It's a tiny little particle thing. Well...
Yeah, electrons and protons, electrons and protons, electrons and protons. It works. So again, this is just another example. Just like Newton's day, momentum was a perfectly sensible working theory. It wasn't in any way broken. And some asshole shows up, Leibniz, and makes up some silly story that doesn't work. It violates the law of the lever, violates what was well-established physical concepts, and somehow morons are attracted to that nonsense and accept it. And this is just doing the same damn thing. You're taking perfectly sensible physics and turning it into completely nonsensical physics.
Well, then fast forward again to the birth of quantum theory, where different experiments were done and theories were put...
So all this bullshit, right. And so what was broken about electrons and protons? What's broken about that simple mechanism? Why doesn't work? It does work. It does make sense.
Forth that basically put a...
It makes sense that if you want to get two protons close to each other, you put an electron between them. That makes fucking sense.
Crack in the door that maybe particles of matter also have a wave-like character.
No, it's just such... It's just why? Why would I do that? Why would I make up fake little stories like that about something as simple as the dynamic of plus and minus or north and south? Why do I need to make it wooey?
And that is what we know to be true today. So matter, even though we think...
We know magnets work very reliably. The north-south thing, it's all very reliable, all very, we can calculate it all. We can even calculate its density and strength and lots of things, and its purity and all kinds of reasons, so we can understand the domains and all this kind of crap. So why turn into something stupid and wooey?
Think of it as little hard balls of particles, and it definitely has a particle-like character to it. It has
So there's no point in saying this shit, right? Oh, it definitely is a particle, except it's not particle-y. Yeah, it's particle, but not in any real sense. Not in any way I'm going to draw. I mean, I could show a guy kicking a ball and I'll imply that it's a particle, but no, I'm not saying it's anything like a ball. It's just such a lie. It's just such a fucking lie. Oh, it's just like a particle, except nothing like one.
Aspects of waves that interfere and do other wavy things.
So they don't. So we just know that no force interacts with any other force. So somehow the forces are inert to each other. And I would argue they're inert to each other because first, they don't interact with each other. And second, unless they hit matter, if they did interact, they're perfectly elastic. So they just exchange their condition. So you can never make something actually change. If they hit each other, it looks exactly the same, the universe, right? If two hard bodies hit each other and then reflect, it looks exactly the same as if they missed each other. The universe would look exactly the same if they just went right through each other, if they bounce off each other. Same difference. So you wouldn't be able to detect if force interacted with force because the force will just exchange its condition.
And light, which was originally thought to be a wave, also has particle-like character. It comes in discrete chunks called
Blah, blah, blah. So what's this a picture of?
photons. So if you really want to look at it, it's kind of a nice theory.
So it's all this wooey shit. So again, nice theory of what? Who wants this? Who the fuck is a nice theory? The crocoduck. Crocoduck isn't a nice theory. It's ridiculous theory. Why don't you make it an elephant croc or something? I mean, take a mammal and turn it into a reptile. I mean, what the fuck? You draw a turtle shell on an elephant. Go ahead. Just make up any kind of bullshit and say this is science. It's not science. It's crap. It's a story you're telling. It's a religion.
Because really, there is a grand explanation for all of it. Everything around.
So there's no grand. So again, they don't have that grand explanation, right? They don't even have an ability to put gravity into their quantum theory. So they can't even take one of the most obvious forces that exist and put it in their quantum theory and make sense out of it. So yeah, the whole thing is just bullshit.
Around us, whether it's energy in the form of light or radiation.
So again, the fake word energy, which is just momentum,
or whether it's in the form of matter, has some scaffolding underneath where it has aspects of waviness. And
okay, so again, just keep saying it. It has these. There's no evidence it has these aspects, and all the evidence points to everything moves. It's a vector of momentum. All motion is convertible into vectors of motion. I can break things down. I could even break down heat moving through an object, and you could break down the heat into vectors. You can break down sound into vectors. It all can be broken into vectors.
Aspects of particles. Matter has aspects of waves and particles, and energy, like photons, have also wave-like characteristics and particles.
So again, there's no wave. I'm just saying there's no wave in mathematics. Mathematics is just about vectors. You can't have a wave function, like a real wave function. They use a forky symbol and call it Schrodinger's wave thingy. But there's no, it doesn't represent anything. It's not a real formula. It's not a real statement about something real. It's a whole complex thing that you would have to write down, like what's the probability of, and what happens on Wednesday, and what happened on Thursday. It's a whole complex statement about something. It isn't a number. It isn't a vector. It isn't anything like that. So it's not real math. It's bullshit. All the real math is vectors. There's just direction and power. That's it. Magnitude and direction. That's all there is. And for all the forces, the magnitudes are always the same because it's all the same raindrops.
Like characteristics. And if you remember that famous equation, E equals mc squared.
So bullshit, yes. Another made up pile of crap that you'll never prove. It has a damn thing to do with anything. It's just that it's just basically saying there's a whole bunch of energy stuck inside the pressure inside of the atom is a bunch of energy. The electrons and protons. Let's just say I could pull all the electrons out of a nucleus instantly, or I could just make them disappear. You have a whole bunch of protons that are insanely close to each other. And all of a sudden they'll see each other. And they'll have 1,000,000 pounds of force between them. Because all the energy that comes in that's blue will be turning into red force, where it's going to be forcing them to repel each other. So they're going to have this insane amount of repulsion pressure. And so you have this insane explosion that would happen. So that's just a representation of how much energy it took to push all that together. And that's what you've stored by pushing it all together.
Squared, that's an equivalence between matter and energy. The c squared is...
So there's no equivalence. The matter is the catalyst for the energy interacting, but it's nothing. You can't...
Palisade hybrid versus Highlander
You
hybrid.
can't call them
With the
both
Palisade
energy.
hybrid, you can
The
get
matter
all this.
doesn't have any energy. The force has
It's sort of like
all
a conversion
the
factor
energy.
between energy.
All the force. The force has all the energy. Nothing, no electron has any independent energy. It has to only be circumstantial. It only has energy when it's next to another electron. Otherwise, it's going to be in some kind of neutral condition.
Energy and matter. So Einstein was telling us with his totally separate theory.
So gravity essentially creates a whole bunch of capacity for explosive releases of energy by consolidating matter into nucleuses, consolidating electrons and protons into nucleuses. So under high pressure inside of suns, or even inside of Jupiter, there's enough high pressure to start pushing electrons and protons into nucleuses.
That energy and matter were related and could be converted between one another. And then quantum theory tells us that whatever the stuff is, basically everything has a wave-like and a particle-like character.
All right, so there's nothing saying that, and then this just gets into Dirac's made-up nonsense math, blah, 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 blah. So this is all just a fable. You have no good reason to believe it. They can't draw you a picture of it, and look what they show you. Look at this slop. What does this slop have to do with anything? What does this slop represent? I mean, if this isn't religion, what the fuck is this? It's like little angel force, little angel powers. This isn't science. This is girly crap.
So in some sense, everything is related in the same underlying descriptions of particles and waves in quantum mechanics.
So everything has to be related because everything's interacting with everything based on this force that's conveyed between things. So obviously there's Alpha Centauris out there. It's sending photons. I could just go outside and I could have some hit me. So what? Yeah, that's not much of a relationship, frankly. I mean, and vice versa, right? I could go outside, some of the moonlight will hit me, can bounce off of me, and it can actually hit Alpha Centauri, yeah. So what?
So let's dive deeper into the wave nature of matter, because honestly, it blows my mind, and it should blow your mind too. Because
Oh, it's just such baby talk. God, I hate this shit. This is just such disgusting science. They're just promoting wooey fun. Let's all make it into fun by wearing costumes. Yeah, we'll wear costumes and do pantomime. Yeah, we'll do pantomime. Ew.
because it seems so weird.
Queer, not weird. Yeah, queer.
So here's something that should blow your mind.
Say it
Everything.
again.
And I mean everything has a wavelength. Everything.
Yeah, fuck you. So again, too stupid. So the guy's beer can has a wavelength. The little bun head on the girl is a wavelength. And the silly hat on that guy is a wavelength. And the fart. Oh no, never mind the farts. Oh, fuck this shit. I can't believe I have to spend time on this shitty prison planet. Alright, so obviously there's nobody here, so I guess I'll just get the fuck out. Current viewers 1. Oh man, that's just too dismal. But what am I going to do? There's nothing I can do about it. Tuesday seems a perfectly reasonable night. But whatever. There's just, the internet isn't a very viable communication mechanism. Yeah, unfortunately, it just doesn't work. You have to go back to sending newsletters to people. I probably should do that, right? I guess I should send physics newsletters. Oh, it just seems like, oh man, I can't believe you have to do that. I guess I could do spam email. I mean, I really hate to do that. That's really ugly business to get into. Oh, but this is just horrible. What's worse? I mean, actually sending mail to people, at least you're spending a big pile of money to do that. But, yeah, it's hard to measure. So, just very disappointing. That's all you can say. Very disappointing. Yeah, really disappointing, frankly. Alright, so I'll just get the hell out of here, right? It's just no point. I mean, I could just make regular videos. No point in doing this live shit. But anyway, it doesn't matter. So I'll get around to doing some more of this video, I guess. But I mean, it's not going anywhere. He's just going to keep telling us this bullshit that he doesn't have any proof of.
Are you struggling in your calculus class?
Yeah, fuck you.
Do you have a hard time understanding your instructor?
Yeah, fuck you.
Do you wish there was a simpler way?
I know. I wish you were all
It has a lot of mass,
on some
and
other
even if
planet.
it's moving relatively slowly,
Oh, so what is this? Even if it's moving relatively slowly?
it has so much mass that the momentum is
Oh, right. And so it's wavy thingy, can't be detected. So yeah, it's all the same images, all the same wooey shit. So there's nothing here. There's no evidence for any of this crap. He didn't even diagram the double slit experiment, for fuck's sake. It's just telling us we have to believe over and over and over again. Wooey bullshit. So yeah, fuck him. Wasted time. And such. And so forth. And whatnot. Alright, so I'll get the hell out of here. Till next time and such and so forth and what.